Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Welcome along. Another Chimps Tea Party, and it's I suppose with this evening, it's going to be I think a kind of really interesting one because I think there's lots of you at home probably have lots of different views on this one. Some of you for the positive or the negative, but we're talking about investigating churches. Before we get going, just to let you know that if this is the first time you've seen one of these, it's really nice and relaxed. It's chilled. It's not like me having a guest on. I can talk directly to you guys if you're on the live chat at home. All your thoughts. I'll try and put up as many as I can during tonight. Just say a big hello. Hopefully you can hear me okay. That's the main thing. Just very, very quick. Sarah, thank you for becoming a member. Good evening. Who was the for Dealey Boy and Diane and Sue Tim and Weird Fox and Ali? Good evening. Who else we got? John Boy. I'm not gonna say this to everybody. John Boy and Steph and Dragon Ranger. Hello. And who else we got? I'm going down the chat as quick as I can. I don't have all the fancy stuff that the likes of Beardo has. Stu Farrell, good evening to you. And who have I got? Mentioned Sarah and Tim. I'm sure I mentioned Tim for. Steph, good evening. Hello. Who else got? Mike's Mysteries. Hello to you. Good evening. And Pinky and Cag. Hello. How are you doing? hope you're kind of well and not absolutely shattered. I'm sure you probably are. And Raven. Hello to you. And Simon and Jan and Debunk. And there's a whole bunch of you. Welcome along, guys. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. So we're going to get into the talk about the investigating churches. I have investigated churches, so I'm not going to be some kind of paranormal police thing that's going on. I have investigated churches. I have investigated deconsecrated churches, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. So that's better than a consecrated church. So I have investigated deconsecrated churches in the past. So I'm not going to be like, "Ooh, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that." So we'll go through all the different things. I think the main thing for people who are interested in churches, by and large, ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, people who are kind of interested, I think primarily it is the history of the building, the location, the place, the haunted credentials. I think are secondary. Sometimes if you have like a 900 or 1,000-year-old building, it's the history which we're kind of drawn towards. Plus, churches, particularly obviously deconsecrated churches or ruins of churches, are always open, so it's ease of access. They're usually quite remote. They're easy to get to, which is a good thing. But there are some big question marks over the ethics of things. So I'm just going to go through a couple of, I suppose, news, recent news articles or fairly recent news articles about these kinds of things. So we'll go on to the positives first. You will see in the media loads and loads and loads of things that look like this. These have become almost so commonplace now we don't even think about it. So we've got ghost hunter warned to get out of eerie church in chilling paranormal encounter. A ghost hunter from Yorkshire claims a ghost told him to get out of a haunted monastery in Leeds while he was detecting paranormal activity. Okay, so that's all positive. And then we have these kinds of things. Ghost hunter horrified after haunted church wooden door creepily opens by itself. I've heard of Tony Ferguson, never had him on. Tony Ferguson was creeped out by a 900-year-old St. John's Church near Boulder in Hampshire, where the ghost of a knight has previously been spotted. Okay, so you see these articles all the time. Here's another one. The eerie church tower among Essex's most haunted places where ghost hunters find the devil and witches. Okay, all nice, all positive. This is the kind of stuff we see all the bloody time. However, on the flip side of that, there is, as much as the positive side, there is these kinds of articles. Please stop destroying our churches. Churches Trust reveals the true cost of ghost hunters and urban explorers. People still have family buried at these churches, and it's incredibly disrespectful. Or you have this. Haunted church ravaged by ghost hunters. Spooky seances and vandals damage 190-year-old Quebec relic. 190-year-old church in Quebec. It's become the target of ghost hunters amid rumours the building is haunted. The 19th century St. John's Anglican Church in Gore, Quebec, has been plagued by unwelcome visitors of late, and both the church's warden and the Anglican diocese are considering abandoning it. If I can get my teeth in. Um, and this one, there you go. And this, I suppose, this was, I suppose, this is as similar to an abandoned building. Really, a woman found dead in a church with no blood in her body may have been a TikToker hunting for ghosts. Please say. So you've got these two absolutely different points of view. You've got these articles which you see all the time about going into churches and it's really haunted and it's this, that, and the other, and it's great and it's fun and it's all good. But I think we do need to address the ethics of this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to give you my views, my points of view, and then firing it away over to you guys. Um, so obviously I can see why ghost hunters are drawn towards churches, whether that's Borley Rectory Church, famously meant to be haunted, trying to get in there. They go in there during the day, try and do an investigation during the day when the doors are unlocked, and they creep around and they set off, they might be there with their K2 meters or they're asking for EVPs. It happens. In consecrated churches, it happens all the time. I get the attraction. It's got great history. Churches in the UK, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is right for the UK. So most churches which are consecrated and owned by the likes of Church of England are unlocked during the day and locked at night. Deconsecrated churches, or churches which are still consecrated but have dwindling kind of numbers, may be left open overnight, and they have become the target for the ghost hunters, particularly those in rural locations. There's big issues. So I do see the attraction. However, big ethical issues. First of all, I mean, I've seen YouTubers, and I'm sure anybody who's been watching YouTube for a while has seen YouTubers going out, and the worst one I saw was they set up in a graveyard, okay, but then they were videoing children's graves, and I do not mean children's graves from Victorian times. I mean children who are babies that have died within the last 10 years. And that's like on a whole other unethical level. That's just like really bad. When the parents are still grieving, the child, the baby, the newborn has only just been put into the ground, and people are going around videoing and showing the names of the babies and the kids in the children's graves. Really just completely out of order. There's a thing where I'm a bit about being in graveyards, but if somebody's been, if there's no, if somebody's passed away, I'm talking hundreds of years ago, I do not see a massive issue with recording or videoing in a graveyard of people from hundreds of years ago. I do have a big issue with recent graves, a massive issue. I have videoed in graveyards. Where I did it at the Skirridin. I was going to video stuff in the graveyard near the Skirridin. There's a church where there's a grave of the landlady at the Skirrid. Ali and Sadie were there, and it's not me. I've not tried to do an investigation within the church itself, but doing an introduction or videoing old graves, I don't have too much of an issue with. Some people may have an issue with that. But it's all about respect. It's all about I really do think it's just all about respect. Respect for where you are, and realize that the living relatives may not want you to show somebody's grave, or if you're a parishioner, parishioners can be that you may find that disrespectful, harmful. If you're a parishioner, you can be really kind of feel offended, really offended and disrespected by the fact that you're violating their holy place. I do get that. The Christian denominations, obviously, they have big issues because they usually, in a lot of cases, forbid any kind of paranormal investigating because they think it's spiritually harmful. Okay, so you're kind of disrespecting the church, you're disrespecting the parishioners, the people who work in churches or look after the churches. And you're kind of disrespecting the dead as well. And like I said, this sounds kind of funny, right? This does kind of sound funny, and I don't want it to be funny, but you can't ask their permission. They're dead. And you don't ask the family's permission to video their grave. So I think there's some issues with the whole y- being commercial side of it, of trying to make money from the fact that you're video recording it within a church as well. Plus, I can imagine a church. I mean, that some of these. I mean, this is one. Actually, there was this one I was talking about earlier. This one, I've been there. Skidbrook Church. It's a deconsecrated church, which is why I didn't find too much of an issue with it. But the trust that looks after that church have had real issues. It's a place called Skidbrook in Lincolnshire, St Botolph's Church. It was given the tagline "the Demon Church" because after it was deconsecrated, apparently satanic worshippers were using it for satanic rituals. Right now, I have been in there. I videoed in there. Like I say, it's deconsecrated, but the church trust still has a massive issue because they lump in ghost hunters with urban explorers and vandals, essentially. So your paranormal investigator is going to get a lot of grief and a lot of shit for just being there, because the church trust seems to be lumping these groups together: urban explorers, ghost hunters, vandals. And so when people see this church, which is really old, I've seen the medieval tiles being broken up, and smashed. I've been in there and I've seen um, the how it's been vandalized. And I don't think that's ghost hunters. I just think that's your general teenage kids. But we're being lumped into it. The paranormal group is being lumped in with this, and I think that's the big issue. Is we need to be better than that. We need to perhaps be, have a better. If we're ever going to gain a better reputation with the church, maybe we've got to be very, very careful. Now, obviously, the church was obviously you're meant to have permission. If it's a consecrated church, you're meant to have permission to go in. If it's deconsecrated, you don't necessarily need permission to go in. But it's just being respectful of where you are, not damaging it, that kind of thing. So there are lots and lots of issues, and I feel as though I'm rambling on about it because I'm sure there are. Why are you talking about my bloody jumper for? But there are lots of issues, and whether whether you see something like this and you think, oh no, that's fine. That's you see all these on Daily Mail and on websites where you just think nothing of it. You just go into a church, it's free, you get in, it's old, it has a great haunt, it may have a haunted history to it, it may be 800-900 years old. Game on. I'm going to go there and investigate. Don't see an issue with it. But I mean, I went into a church fairly recently, actually, about a year or so ago. I went into a church, very rural church, not to investigate. I was just walking in, just walking into this place. And because it's out of the way, and because it's quite quiet, and because they leave it unlocked, because it's not a, I don't think it's a deconsecrated church. I think it's consecrated, but it's not used because it's such a rural hamlet. It's in but it's been kind of used by investigators to go in there, because you can go in there whenever you like. They don't lock the doors, and it's been used by paranormal investigators. And in the the guest book, which they in a lot of churches they still have a guest book where you can write down, and most people say, "Oh, this is a beautiful old church. This is lovely. Thank you so much. It was peace and quiet." And then the investigators had written down in the guest book, cracking church. This is third time. Had some activity last night. Blah 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 blah. Great, signed, and they signed the name of the ghost hunting group. The YouTuber group or whatever they were. And underneath it, you had parishioners or the people from the church trust writing down in the guest book underneath, "Please do not come to our church. We don't agree with this. Please don't return." And we find it really, and it was just one of those kind of messages. You think, oh God, you don't think about this stuff, but somebody's getting offended. Somebody's getting offended. So, what do you think? Start getting. If I know some people have been talking about this already in the chat, so I'll go back and I'll start to highlight your thoughts. Should we avoid them altogether? Is it fair game? Like I said, I'm going to completely be on the fence for this. I can't really I mean, I have been in deconsecrated churches. I have done Skidbrook Church, and I've been to these old places. But should we? Should we, or should we just avoid them altogether? Or is the temptation too strong? What do you guys think? Right, let's have a little look. Hey, Ali, good evening. We investigated churches previously, not too many to be fair, but if it doesn't feel right, then we don't do it. Yeah, that's fair enough. So, like a lot of places, don't people think churches are public property? Yeah, I agree, actually, Stu. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about the parishioners or the people who, or the trust, the church trust that meant to look after these buildings, or the Church of England. It depends how far. Would you go into a consecrated church, or would you only stick to deconsecrated ruins of churches, and therefore you don't think anything of it? So look, we've done the infamous Demon Church, St Mary's. I think it's near Maple. I think you mean St Botolph. I think that's. I don't know. The one I've been to is Demon Church, is St Botolph's Church at Skidbrook. Why would the devil be in a church? Yeah, exactly. So say St Pomp, Hey Pomp, as long as it's done respectfully anywhere, should be okay to investigate. One of my favorite cemeteries is from 1610 in Hampton, Virginia. The church was the last building standing after Hampton burnt down in a huge battle. As the first kid born in Jamestown. Oh, very cool history. That's the thing. I mean, these places do have great histories. So it's a case of, well, if it's a great history, how and it's just so tempting, oh, for God's sake, so tempting to investigate a place like that. But yeah, what's he say? All depends what church it is and if it's still in use, etc. Plus, if it doesn't don't feel right, don't do it. Respect is everything. Yeah, I think most investigators that I've seen who have gone into graveyards, for instance, tend to only use, on the most things that I've seen, is you might do a panning shot, or you might go to zoom in on one or two graves of people who have died, 100 or 200 or so years ago. I have, like I said, it's very rare that I've seen people videoing recent graves, but I have, and it's been out there, and I don't know why they do it. They're obviously either they're doing it for shock value, or they're doing it to up their subscribers, or what. But I see, what is the point, other than shock value and disrespect, of videoing recent babies, children's graves? That to me is like, wait, so bad, so bad. I'd never ever dream of doing anything like that. Yeah, actually, hey Ali, yeah, exactly. You should ask Paul from Unusual Things about filming within churches. Yeah, I mean, you see lots of, Unusual Things. If you haven't followed Paul, or don't know about this YouTube channel called Unusual Things, he's got really popular really quickly, and like a few other groups, like the Grim Collective, they video graves of famous people. You have that public interest, and you go to a public place. This is another whole thing we could go down, because it's a public place and anybody can go into a graveyard. If there's somebody famous there, and he usually does go to famous people, is it okay to video their grave, or is that still disrespectful for the family? What do you think? I'm like I say, I'm going to try and keep my views out of it, but let me know what you think. So look, people sitting on graves or even lying on them, no matter how old the grave is. Yeah, I think I'm quite old-fashioned myself. I don't even like standing on graves. You know that whole thing about standing on a grave. Where you try and skirt around it. I do that because I think, oh God, sorry. I apologize to a dead person. that's just kind of how, and I'm sure some of you do at home, when you go, oh God, sorry. I do that all the time. So yeah, I get that. It's when you see people blatantly don't really care, or they don't. Or the other thing which annoys me sometimes is people who don't care about the history. You might have medieval statues or medieval graves, or because some churches are, like I say, up to 1,000 or so years old. And when you see things which are beautiful, and you see people just, dumping their kit on a medieval grave. It rankles me. It really annoys me. Anyway, I spend so much time in churches and cemeteries, but I never share photos of burials that are less than about 70 years old. Yeah. What's that? 1980s and rockers didn't go down well in church. Well, yeah, I know exactly. I think if you're of a, I'm going to go, but I remember growing up in the 80s, if you was a bit odd, the first place you would hang around in is a graveyard, right? With a bottle of whatever. But you're not videoing it and you're not putting it on YouTube and you're not, we weren't ghost hunting. Well, not really ghost hunting. I was too young for all that, really. But you just hung around in cemeteries because they were cool. I just think people are kind of still doing that. They still think it's cool, but they don't see the implications of it. So it's disgusting. Both people can be so inconsiderate and rude. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try and go through as many of these as I can. Respect for intentions is what it comes down to. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you're doing it in a respectful way, I think you can absolutely, you can get around it. And I think if you film it respectfully and you do things respectfully, then that's okay. Really pissed me off when someone vandalizes a church. Yeah, I hate that. I hate, and I've seen it, where I've gone into a place and it was beautiful. I remember going, oh, what a beautiful church. It's been kind of, there'd be all the old pews in there and they're left by, if it's deconsecrated, it's kind of, or I've been consecrated churches, but they've left, hymn books and the pews and the organ and the Bibles there. And it's just quiet. But I've also been back 6 months later and somebody's stolen the Bibles or somebody's taken a crucifix off the wall because it has Jesus on it and it looks quite cool. They think it'll be nice in their home, or a statue of the Virgin Mary, and they've taken that. That's what annoys me. Or they've smashed a window because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's I'm not saying those are ghost hunters or paranormal investigators. It's just the whole disrespect thing. It rankles. So I like the old history of some of the old cemeteries and have legends of spirit being seen, or like the rocking chair grave of Pearl French. May see the chair rocking. 3-year-old passed away in 1882. Oh, that's cool. So that's the thing. It's got these great stories. So should you investigate them? That's a big thing. What's this? Scuzzball goof Jodie Dean sat on the graves of Shannon Watts and her 2 baby girls, actually leaned up against the headstones and did a spirit box session. His channel was Hunting the Dead. Do you know, I don't think I've ever come across that one, and I'm glad I haven't, because that's the kind of stuff I hate. That is what I hate. And I really, really find that really distasteful stuff. Thank you for that. Dragon Rangers, have a look. Yeah, that's the issue. We get a bad rap from the other groups that go in and bust these places up and do the vandalization things, unfortunately. Yeah, we're ghost hunters are kind of banded with troublemakers, and actually most paranormal investigators I've ever met and ghost hunters I've met have a genuine passion and love of history. First and foremost, forget the ghost thing, history. Virtually every single person I've ever met has a love of going into old theaters, going into old buildings, going to old churches with the history and the sense of history and the stories and the people and the people, the times. And that's not, I don't think that's really considered when you hear people going into churches and then the church just goes, they're just a bunch of troublemakers. They're going in, they're doing this, they're doing that. These ghost hunters, these urban explorers, they're just destroying the place. That's what kind of annoys me. My local Pioneer Cemetery is trashed and most of the headstones are broken. Ghost hunters went in and vandals and thrill seekers followed. Yeah, that's bad. Hello, Alison, by the way. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the trashing of history and this trashing of beautiful. I mean, some gravestones are stunning and churches are stunning. And I think, I think we've got to be. We need to hold ourselves to account. There's no rule books. I don't, there's no rule books. There's no real code of ethics that people actually follow. But I think just being a decent bloody person and not being an arsehole would be a good start. I love visiting churches, but never thought of doing an investigation in any of them. Yeah, I mean, I like walking around them, and I've gone round graveyards. I've only ever done, like I said, I've only ever done one in deconsecrated churches. I would never dream of going into a consecrated church during the day when there are, there's been church services every week, for instance, and everything's there and it's been looked after by parishioners and things like that. I cannot imagine going into a church and doing a sneaky spirit box session. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. But there are others that could, you know. I'm not sure about the whole church investigation thing. I do know what spoils it. Do bro and generally disrespectful wet wipes have absolutely no respect at all because they want views. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry if I missed your comments, by the way. I do apologize. Just put them in again. What Simon say? Don't know. I think active churches are a no. Imagine if you just had a funeral of a loved one there, and then the day after, a bunch of ghost hunters are in there. Yeah, exactly. Yes, some people have no morals at all, and so some people are always going to do it. Sadly, it's a bit like those those people that nick flowers off graves. It's like there'll always be somebody who does it. Always. Yeah, ghost hunters may try to keep may try to keep where the building is quiet, but anyone near there would recognize the place, and that can lead to the wrong type of people entering and wrecking the place. Yeah, you see it all the time with urbexes. I think as soon as one urbexer goes into a place, becomes a magnet. And actually, you've seen it. I think everyone's seen it on YouTube as well. One place becomes popular or becomes a place that's easy access, whether that's you're a ghost hunter or you're an urbexer or whatever. They pin that location, and within a week or a couple of weeks, there's loads of videos of the same place. So it happens. It really, don't do anything in a church that you wouldn't do in a mosque. They are fundamentally the same thing. Yeah, and it's this whole just very simple respect for a holy place of worship. Very, very straightforward. As long as you respect for not vandalism, and it should be a historical one with legends or reports of paranormal happenings. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think with any place, and that's why I have a bit of an issue. I mean, I don't have an issue with people doing abandons. I understand why people do abandoned buildings because it's free and it's easy and it's creepy to go into an abandoned building. The issue I have with abandons is the vast majority of the time there is no record of anything ghostly or paranormal happening in such a building. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think with most abandons, there's no kind of ghost story attached to it. It's just a cool old building that's free to get into, and that's the issue I have with abandons. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I'm waffling. A lot of little country churches in the Midwest look like they're unofficial. They are very much still active cemeteries. Yeah, I think this is actually, Chris, that's a very good point. I think a lot of old places, if they're very raw and kind of out the way, people assume they're deconsecrated or they're fine to go into. And it's in the middle of nowhere. No one's going to know. But actually, yeah, they still are active. They just probably don't have as many church services as they used to because of falling numbers. I never visit a church for the historical aspect and the architecture. I've heard that Purple Ronnie out of us going a little bit. Hang on. I'll read this again. I've heard that Purple Ronnie out us of going a little bit. However, we have a friend whose nan is the little girl from Borley, Adeline. So I was considering going with him. Ah, cool. Oh, you did tell me about that, Ali. That's very cool. As long as you respect the place and don't consider it some entertainment place, I think it's okay. Just be mindful of the place and what it's meant for. Yes, absolutely right, Bean. Misbehaving, Dalen Spratt goes to cemeteries and claims to connect with the spirits, even recent murder victims' graves. Jesus Christ. Bloody, what is wrong with people? It just so annoys me. It's the same for me as with other properties. Don't destroy anything and treat all with respect. I think it's meant. Yeah, absolutely. I think abandoned, as long as it's done respectfully and the history is researched and not just some urban legend of a demon, then fine. Yeah, I am going to try and go faster down the chat. I mean, I do generally love all these comments. These comments are amazing, by the way. And it's if you just joined us, we're just talking about the ethics of church investigations. One church in Norfolk, Virginia, still has a cannibal stuck in the side of it from a pirate ship. Very cool. Oh, that's so cool. I know do investigation there, but a busy area. Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, I do love the history of these places. I just there are some big kind of ethical question marks. Recent grave. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Recent graves, I agree, is off limits. The graveyard I did was extremely old, and we didn't sit on people's graves or trying to summon them. We've gone there because there is a story attached to the area. Yeah, absolutely. My feeling is leave the graves and houses knowing they are recently dead. I lost both my parents recently, and it'd do my nut if anyone exploited that for YouTube. Exactly right. Exactly right. And I think it's not hard. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's not hard to avoid recent graves. You know, in old churchyards, in creepy, cool-looking churchyards, there are scattered with graves which are 200-300 years old. Video them. Just don't video the recent graves or the ones which have got fresh flowers attached to them. It's such a simple thing, but my God, I see so many videos like that, and still I see videos like that, unfortunately. Know what you mean. I do exactly the same. Even with graves who are hundreds of years old, won't step on them. Yeah, I know. I'm old-fashioned, I suppose. Oh, that's so interesting. There's nothing to see of the rectory, but the churchyard is nice. Have a look around. I love anything to do with Borley Rectory. Yeah, I would look around Borley Church. Borley Church. They have big issues. The people of Borley Church have big issues with ghost hunters. Unsurprisingly, because they've been plagued by ghost hunters since Borley Rectory. But occasionally it is open, and if they think it's open, I would, and it would be lovely to have a look around. Great, take some photos inside. Great. I just would not do an investigation during the day within a consecrated church. To those who film in churches and graveyards without express permission, speak to the church warden, who cried on the phone to me as ghost hunters were going into her church doing lives. Good evening, Corinne. I'm assuming this is Corinne. Yeah, and we said this at the start. I don't know if you was here for the start, but we're talking about how parishioners may feel offended, disrespected, or violated, knowing that ghost hunters have gone into a consecrated church and done an investigation into it, and it's stuff like this actually that is what we want to try and avoid. This whole thing of just for some I mean, for anybody who's not religious, and I'm not really religious, but I don't think most people fully understand or realize how disrespectful and how of an emotional feeling would be attached to a church for somebody who really believes in the sanctity of that place. So it's a holy place of worship. It's a site, a sanctuary. And so I think you can kind of understand that if somebody has gone into that church at night with a whole bunch of spirit boxes, they've put it all over YouTube, and particularly if it's a consecrated church as well, not even that, even if it's looked after by the church trust, that somebody is going to be really, really upset, annoyed and upset, and feel shit, basically, that's what's happened. I did go and film there. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's the one about the church with the cannonball. That is very cool, though. So I try to avoid standing on someone's grave. I feel like I'm insulting the person who's down there. Yeah, and you get. I agree. Standing, sitting, or putting a bunch of equipment on a grave is disrespectful. Absolutely. So I'm exactly the same. And that's the thing is, if I'm a bit funny by not wanting to stand on somebody's grave, you can imagine how. But then I'm going around and videoing, lots and lots of people's graves. I don't know. It just seems a bit off, doesn't it? Plus many used to have photos taken at Whitby Goth Weekend at St Mary's Church graveyard. The graves were several hundred years old, but it became apparent the church was becoming upset and so stopped. Well, that's. I mean, it's a great. I mean, I love St Mary's Church there at the top of Whitby. I mean, it is very. But like I said, I don't think I would do an investigation up there. It's a great location. I'll take photos from up there, particularly, but I don't think I would do a paranormal investigation up there. Wouldn't ever think about it. Paul, Paul says, thanks for the shout out. Yeah. Actively work to protect our churches that are in use today. I can speak from experience that many parishioners, vicars, and church wardens are very upset by teams investigating the paranormal. Thank you, Jem, for that, because that's the thing we're trying to kind of, it's, and I say, if you, like I say, if you missed it, I'll just very quickly go through. It's people are lacking respect for the place itself, the community, the parishioners, the church wardens, the people who look after these places. The lack of respect for the dead is another thing. Plus, we're kind of, they're kind of being exploited. Yeah, exploited for views and subscribers and money. And so, I think there's some real big ethical issues. And yeah, absolutely agree with all of what you've just said there, Jem. Absolutely. The Church of England did a white paper on this. It upsets them. There you go. So yeah, if you ever want to know, absolutely like the feeling of the Church of England of all this, yeah, they're not happy. And I think actually specifically, I think because as well, investigators are trying to get spiritual communication, and lots of Christian denominations, I won't say some do forbid paranormal investigations, but it's kind of seen as they try and discourage it, or they forbid it because they see it spiritually harmful, and then you're going in and doing what you want. And the worst thing, which I've seen as well, is when you argue back, when investigators argue back at people. Well, I've got a God-given right because I'm not a YouTuber. Yeah, that's what really annoys me. The cemetery my parents are in has annual tour of the oldest gravestones along with their stories history. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's when things are done in a respectful way. Fine, churches do have amazing histories. Or some churches have incredible or interesting people within the graveyards, which may be of public interest. But as long as you're treating it respectfully, or talk about respect, just not in the way that some people have been doing. We talk about a lot of people that have no respect for anything in life, so graveyard would mean nothing. You're either a decent person with morals or you're an ass. Jan, I'm spot on. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Great to have you on this evening. Oh, that's very good. Thank you. What's that great seeing so many? We all get to see the many jumpers of Justin. This is, oh man, I've got to buy some more jumpers. I swear. What's that? Unfortunately, common sense is not common nowadays. Yeah, neither's morality or morals and ethics and being respectful. I don't know. It rankles me a bit. There's plenty of churchyards and graveyards where I live in South Bucks. I enjoy reading the tombstones. It makes me think of the people buried there. Yeah, I mean, I do. I absolutely do. And I think when you go into a churchyard and you read, I mean, I've done it plenty of times. I love reading gravestones because it's our history. It's the history of where we live. It's the history of our town or our county. And you look at people, how young they were when they died, or how many you may have somebody who's died in their 20s, but then they've also been buried with 6 of their children who all died before they did. And it's like, bloody hell, people, you gives you an idea of the rich history of our country, or your, wherever you live and things like that. But you learn so much from churches. It's just a shame that people are just overstepping the mark, I think. Such history are really old churches. The skills that were used in the building them, even down to the stained glass windows, and then some low lives think it's great to wreck it. Absolutely. So it's locked, so they break in. So a church warden cried down the phone to me because of people doing investigations. Yeah, so we're not even. So actually, Corinne, you made a good point there, that we're not even talking about people going in to vandalize it, or urbexers. We are talking specifically ghost hunters. And that's worth pointing out, because I'm not just grouping everybody together. I don't like being told off about anything, so I probably wouldn't go near a church for urbex or paranormal, which sounds like an ethics minefield. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. But I think there's a lot of people that don't care particularly about it. There's a church in Leeds that's been deconsecrated and turned into a live music venue. Cradle of Filth played there, which was kind of cool, but I did find it a bit wrong. Yeah, and there's a nightclub in Scunthorpe, which is a deconsecrated church, and they've got and behind the bar they've got a huge devil. Oh, and they overlooking the over the bar, it's a huge demon. And which you're thinking, oh my God, right? And the first song they play, which is kind of cool. I'm sorry, but it's kind of cool. The first song they play is "God Is a DJ" at the start of a Friday or Saturday night. So, yeah, if you want to go down the whole moral thing, so yeah, there's a lot of churches have been turned into nightclubs. That's maybe another whole stream. If I see anyone live streaming from inside the church and I know you don't have permission, I will be contacting the local church warden or turning up there myself. You go. You tell them, Jem. Jesus, don't mess with Jem. I swear, don't ever mess with Jem. She's done it before. She'll do it again. She'll rock up and give you a piece of her mind. Go, Jem Treadwin. Some knobs nicked the flowers from the Black Sabbath bench after Ozzy died. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with people? Oh, bloody hell. What's that? Why are people leaving alcohol? It's like those twats who left booze at Amy Winehouse's grave, even though she died of alcoholism. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it at Jim Morrison's grave. I mean, I didn't really think too much of it, but yeah, the number of people that leave cigarettes, alcohol, all of that kind of stuff at Jim Morrison's grave was mad. Church in my village is rumored to have wed Robin Hood and Maid Marian. Of course it had. It's not even real. Let's have a look. Why do people assume churches are haunted? Consecrated ground, all spirits should be at rest. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very good point, Dan. We've not even talked about that. That whole thing about, I actually don't think that, why would anybody hang around a church? I can understand if you die hanging around your local pub. I can understand that. I can understand hanging around your family. Or I can kind of understand it if you died somewhere and you're seen wandering because you just don't realize you've died and why would you hang around in a graveyard? I've never really understood that, unless you happen to be the priest that you loved that particular church, or a parishioner who loved that church. Why would you hang around there in the first place? Let's just have a look. Yeah. Thank you, John Boy. Yeah, I'm a complete atheist, but I'd always show respect in the church. Yeah, it's a very simple thing of either you have morals, you have a bit of respect, you have some kind of ethics about you, or you don't. And but you can go things. You can always go about things in the right way or in a better way. You can. I just think some people it becomes blurred. People they have an ego, and so therefore they think they've got the God-given right to do it. Simply do not understand why people assume graves would be haunted. It's about the least likely place to be haunted. Yeah, absolutely. I get that. We'll love to buy an old church and transform it into a lovely home. Yeah, and I've seen some amazing churches that have been converted into homes. They're beautiful. I'll get you, Diane. I haven't tidied up. If I see a case with flowers and it's toppled over, I put it back. That's lovely. That's very, very nice. Yeah. Absolutely love that too. Beautiful old chapel turned into a stunning home. Hey, Kaza, this is one of the reasons why my parents wanted to be cremated instead of buried. Yeah, it's such a shame. And I think and this other thing, our society has changed so much. I mean, I know we're kind of, as a society, we're still kind of got Christian values, but the number of people that would regard themselves as religious has dropped massively. The number of people who just do things like YouTube and just think about themselves and don't particularly think about others has risen. So you're going to get that mix of those that care and those that don't. Very simply. A church may be consecrated, but the churchyard remains consecrated. They should remember that. Very good, Snappy. Absolutely. Hey, Mr. DSC. Yeah, absolutely right. Generally speaking, I think there's a lot less respect nowadays. Yeah, spot on. Exactly right. There always be others ruining things for the good people, and that's the thing. you try, you might go things in the right way, and then you're still some arsehole that, vandalizes a place or a church, goes into a deconsecrated church and rips up the old medieval tiles and things, which it really, really annoys me. And then you get lumped into that group. Oh, they're just ghost hunters. They're just this. They're just that. And that kind of annoys me as well. But is it fair? Probably is. I just love old churches and buildings, love a bit of history, but would probably not want to do a ghost hunt one. Don't think ghosts would want to hang around graveyards anyway. Spot on, Kaz. Been to Miles Standish Graveyard, the oldest upkept graveyard in Massachusetts, 1638. Very cool cannibals and stuff. Never been to an open church or graveyard and start an investigation. No, it's a bit like those people who take spirit boxes. They turn a spirit box in a churchyard, straight away. You see Hope Paranormal doing it and a whole bunch of other paranormal groups doing it, and it's just wrong. So what do people think to people bringing Bibles along to paranormal investigations to use as trigger objects? Any thoughts? Oh, very good. Yeah. I mean, I don't take a Bible as a trigger object. But I have taken the ones that I've taken a crucifix and I've taken rosary beads. No, I'm not Catholic, but I've taken religious objects like that if there has been a case where a ghost or a poltergeist has done something or been offended by something religious. So I've done it on purpose to try and get a reaction. Is that me being unethical? Possibly, but yeah. So I generally wouldn't use them. What's ridiculous is that they have as much chance of catching something whilst filming a tour, than a shitty investigation. Spot, yeah, exactly right, Stu. I know for a fact that my father would be extremely upset if ghost hunters went into the church he attends, as he thinks it is against his beliefs. Yes, spot on, absolutely right, Pinky. Unfortunately, it's not just limited graves and churches. People out there being disrespectful by uploading incidents that happened before families are told. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, that's another whole situation. It's absolutely right. Depends on belief. I'd never rip, deface, or destroy a Bible, but I have no belief in it. But what it stands for, I respect. Yeah, and that's it's amazing actually. I mean, debunk. You raise a good point. I wonder what Peter Law's stance is on this. I wonder. I was umming and ahhing about trying to whether I should invite Peter onto this chat because I thought, I don't think he's I don't know if he's still a reverend or whether he's stopped being a reverend because obviously he's kind of doing this YouTube stuff and writing full time. But from somebody who was a reverend for so long, it would be very interesting to get somebody's point of view of this. You're absolutely right. So I think in future, maybe it could be a conversation I have with him on the podcast. And, if I can get him back on one time, would be good. I've just seen people bring in them for trigger objects before, and some take one for protection. I've seen before. Yeah, absolutely. God, blimey, this is going. This chat. There's so many things on the chat. Like I say, if I miss it, I apologize. Steph, it's not quite the same thing, but he did a really interesting short a while ago about paranormal investigations of church services. Oh, okay, that's excellent. Thank you, Steph, for that. That'd be really good. Kag wrote a blog for our website about why we don't investigate graveyards. Hey, good for you, Kag. Well done. That's cool. I did not know that. I've not seen that one, Kag. I'll have to try and check it out. What I find sad is that these young people out there being disrespectful are supposed to be the future of this world. Lord help us all. Yeah, it's scary. There's a gravestone in my hometown that has the date the 31st of September on it. Oh, that's interesting. Let's have a look. I love tombstones that have details of people, especially their occupations and other details. All that history lost now. So many have cremations and no markers. Yeah, I think just just reading their names and just getting a sense of what kind of life it's so tricky. You don't know what kind of life they had, but when you have old gravestones, they usually include additional information. How they died, or the children, or the ages and things like that, and I find that kind of a social history just really, really fascinating. But I've never tried and contact them. I wouldn't do an investigation of it. It's just a case for me reading them and kind of being interested about it. While putting flowers on Mum's grave, I thought I saw what's that? An FBA, but it was a guy doing the tour dressed in period clothing. Oh god! They should have legends of paranormal happenings there. I would say historical. Let's have a look. Thank you for all these comments, but I'm loving all these comments. I grew up learning a church by me was close to a workhouse, and that churchyard is where they are buried. So sad. Great social history. Yeah, spot on, snappy. Absolutely. I used to live in a converted, deconsecrated church. There was a clause in the rental agreement forbidding gambling and seances. Oh, that's kind of it. That's very interesting. That's really interesting. There's a deconsecrated this, but you still can't gamble or do a seance within that church. Even though it's deconsecrated. That's fascinating. Let's have a look. Hey, Ali, it depends on their passing, I suppose. However, some graveyards are quite lovely, peaceful, and beautiful. But yeah, good point there, Diane, to be fair. I can't remember what Diane said, actually. What did you say, Diane? I don't know what. It's been so far back. I can't remember what. I don't know what Diane referred to, Ali, but I'm sure I'll find it at some point. Do you mean the spirit follows the body to the morgue, then the undertaker hoofs it along behind the hearse, then sits on the grave? I really don't think so. Yeah, it's mad when you think about it. It's like, yeah, why would you just like, oh, that's my body down there. I'm just going to stick with my body. No, I don't care about my family. I'm going to stick with my body in this graveyard and just keep guard over it for all eternity. I just don't get. I don't get that. And narcissism and main character syndrome has been accelerated by social media, YouTube, and TikTok. Yeah, absolutely, Stu. Although I'm now an atheist and a skeptic, it is a question of respect for the departed souls and those who are left behind. Yeah, spot on, Deedy boy. Yeah, it is. It is just. I mean, all of this is just a case of respect. If you have respect for the church, if you have respect for, the parishioners, the church wardens, the people who work in churches, you have respect for the people who have died and their gravestones, particularly the recently, deceased as well. And you have respect for that. Our reputation as investigators can go actually really improve if there's that. And also if there's a dialogue, that's the bloody thing. How many ghost hunters would seek permission from a church before investigating on their land? How many? None. I would be very, very surprised. I'm sure there are some, but I'd be very, very surprised if many ghost hunters sought permission from the church, whatever church it is, before they did an investigation. I think the numbers are probably very small, but things are not going to improve unless there's a dialogue. JT, I was in a graveyard chatting to an old guy about the history of the place. I went to ask him about a question and he vanished. Then he appeared from around the corner because he wasn't a ghost. That's ace. Oh, bless you, Kaza. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Oh, if you and I say to if you got any of those memberships, thank you. Please have a big thank you. And even if you didn't get a membership, say a massive thank you to Kaza. So she's such a massive supporter of this channel. Thank you so much, Kaza. Really, thank you. Amazing. Lots of love for Kaza. Thank you so much. John Boy is saying, I went to a Catholic church and they made us go to church, but I've never believed, but I like churches. Yeah, I mean, I like churches. I'm not particularly religious, but I like churches and I like graveyards, weirdly. And I do love the sense of history and, I do. I may not necessarily believe it, but I can respect it. And that's the point, is you can respect these places and not be an arsehole. Seg, what's the angle? Whoa. Is Seg here? No, he's not, is he? Oh, Christ, he is here. Oh, bloody hell. I've got to bring the whole thing on a downer. Anyway, hey, Seg, how you doing? I'm not half an hour behind the chat, whoever said that. Tim, bugger off, will you? Half an hour behind the chat. I'm about 4 minutes. Whatever. How far behind is he? Not very far. Thanks, Seg. Good evening. Oh, good morning to you. So JT, I won't deface the Bible, but in it, God condones slavery, so I don't respect it. Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to go into you know, the whole religious side of it. There's a lot wrong in Christianity, but there's a lot wrong in lots of other religions as well. This is not that's not the point. It's that your basic respect for where you are, respect for yourself, but respect for others, respect for the fact that some people believe this is a holy site, that they believe in the Bible, they believe that you're on a consecrated space. So therefore, don't be an asshole. It's really easy. Don't film, graves of kids that have recently died. Don't break in and start turning on a spirit box when the church is open. It might be empty, but just don't do it, because then it upsets a whole other load of people, and it brings us all down. Oh, whatever. Whatever. 3 minutes, mate. 3 minutes. Outrageously blind. Spange, don't encourage the boy. Don't encourage him. Korea, why do people think that a spirit must be in one place? They are spirits. Maybe they can be anywhere and everywhere. Maybe they could be near their grave at the same time watching family. Okay, fair enough. Whatever. What? Whatever. What's that? I'm 2 minutes behind. You can bugger off. I want to call you. I keep calling you a knob. I'm sorry. I want to call you worse, but knob it'll have to be. That's me restraining myself. I now subscribe, having originally been gifted a membership by Kaza. Excellent. Thank you, Nigel, for saying that. It's an excellent topic, but why would a ghost chill in a church? I honestly don't know. It has been known that churches are meant to be haunted. It's a kind of regular thing that churches are meant to be haunted, but I honestly don't understand why. That's just Tim saying hello to everybody. the posh boys wrecking on each other. I went through the Sunday school with the Church of Scotland when I was a kid, asked too many questions and told them what I was experiencing at the time, and ended up playing rugby every Sunday instead. Well, there you go. Wow, Megan. When we talk about being respectful, I used a Bible for rolling paper. I've heard this before, that because I don't know how I've heard this before, but Bible paper is really thin, so it's good for rolling joints. Apparently, so says Megan. Blame Megan. But yeah, I've heard that. It's not the first time I've heard that. As unethical as that is, yeah, the boy. So Stu's saying, if I was a ghost, I'd be all over the place, especially women's changing rooms and bedrooms. Yeah. I can think of better places than churchyards. Let's put it that way. 3 minutes as soon as I came in, he started speeding up. No, I was catching up anyway, because I think most people have got it out of their system now about the ethics of. Oh, you bugger! Shut up. Right. They get it out of the system, I think. We've had a really good conversation around ethics. It's your fault for not waking up earlier. You could easily wake up at 5 o'clock for when I go live, but no. Anyway. Right. What's that? Oh, bless you, Mike. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. Bless you. Thank you. Oops. Let's have a look. Only a priest who loved his church or monks would be the only people who you'd expect to see around a church graveyard. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely right. I mean, if you worked in church and you loved that church, I understand why you'd hang around. I just don't understand why your average Joe Blogs who's been buried in a place would want to hang around a graveyard. Oh, here we go. We've got the experts now. Paper has to be thin because they put them in every hotel room in the States. Either got to make the drawers deeper or the books thinner. Okay, Joan. There you go. It's not for rolling joints then, Joan, is what you're saying. That's why the paper's thin, not to make it easier for potheads. If a spirit has a strong time to that church, to that church. It would make sense they would go there, especially if it brought them peace. Evil likes to take over the church for the same reason as mocking the trilogy. Thank you, Cree. Am I going to Paramount? Possibly. I'm doing it, Ali. I mean, if I go, I'm doing it to try and collar Richard Felix because I've had Richard Felix on my podcast before, but he's really hard to get a hold of because bless him, he's not very good with technology. So if I do go to Paramount, yes, it's to see. If I do go, yes, it'd be great to see you, and if Sadie's going, and Mickey, and all the other general people, and Lorian and Kev, and lots of people go to Paramount. Oh, will you bugger off? Shut up. So I might do. Because I think nearly everybody who's talking at the Paramount on Saturday, I've had on the podcast, funnily enough. But it'd be great to kind of meet up. So yeah, I'm. You could convince me. I think I'm about 70% sure I'll probably come down. I won't be able to stay the whole evening or the whole day, but yes, I'll probably come along. Hang on, whoa. Yeah, as soon as Seg came in, just skipped a few and scrolled up. No, there's just not many. I'm going through the comments, Tim. I'm going through the comments. You're right. I could easily wake up that early, and I would for the right channel. Such an arse. All right. There must be ghosts in graveyards, though, because the Warrens caught one there, and they never lied or made anything up. Absolutely, Stu. They are dyed in the wool, honest to goodness, good people. All right, let's have a look. I'm going to wrap this up slightly. I have 3 leather Bibles in the house. They were my grandfather's. Oh, cool. And what's Tim saying? You could wake up at 9 and Justin would still be going through the chat. Tim, will you bugger off? You're meant to be my mod. You're meant to be all good to me. Jesus. Let's have a look. We'll be there. That's why Mickey's going. We'll be there with Sadie and I, with Mickey and Paul. Awesome. Very good. And what's that? Barry John is doing a demonstration of trance mediumship. Yeah. See, I've had Barry on here, and he's a lovely guy, psychic medium and all of that. I'd find that quite interesting. See what he came out with. I'd be writing down his answers and things and see what I thought would be good. Oh, I liked him. Right. Can you lip read? Right. We're nearly done. All right. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you. All your comments. Like I said, I've been inundated with comments this evening. So thank you so much. I have tried to go through them as quickly as I can. So thank you. Just very quickly so I have got a podcast this Monday by a lady called Emma. I'm going to get her name wrong. Holohan. Irish. So no Irish accents. I think she's Irish, from Ghost Catcher Isles. And I've got her on talking about folklore on Monday. And specifically, I want to know about one aspect of folklore which we have in the United Kingdom and across Europe, which is a bit weird. It's the Green Man. So she is going to be coming in talking about the Green Man. The Green Man sculptures and faces are all over churches and buildings, medieval buildings, and in people's gardens. But who is the Green Man? Who was the Green Man? What is it? Is it pagan? Is it Christian? Where does he come from? And why is he in churches? So all of that is going on Monday. And there's so much more I want to say, Sek. There's so much more I want to say. But I'd probably get my channel taken off me. So yeah, anyway, Emma, Ghost Catcher Isles is in on Monday. It's going to be a really, really interesting one. Really good one. Thank you for all. Like I said, thank you again for your comments. Thank you for the donations again, Kaza. I hope you've enjoyed it. Oh, and if you enjoyed this, please do think about subscribing. Forget what Seg might say. Please do think about subscribing to the channel. It helps massively. I hope you've enjoyed this evening. And if you have your own thoughts, your own comments around the ethics of investigating churches, churchyards, graveyards, videoing graves, the do's and the don'ts, the rights and the wrongs, please Put it in the chat. No, I'm not going to say it, Seg. I'm really not. Right. Anyway, gonna stop. I'm gonna stop there before I get in trouble. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all, like I say, all your support, all your kindness, all your comments. It has been amazing this evening. So thank you. Right, I'm done. Have a great night tonight, and enjoy the rest of your day. And I shall see you on Monday. All right, night, guys.